Hi everyone, my name is Gabrielle Simkowski. I chose to write my final term paper for Modern English Syntax over types of verbs and why they're important. Let me start off with saying I learned a lot in this class and I hope everybody else did as well. And if you're graduating in the next week, congratulations. But I'll start off with saying verbs have been a large part of grammar for many centuries. Grammar, according to Laurel Britton's The Structure of Modern English, is a term used to refer to the rules or principles by which a language works, its system, or its structure. There are also two different types of grammar. Grammar that we've gone over in our book as well as in our class. There's prescriptive grammar and descriptive grammar. Prescriptive grammar aims to tell people how they should speak and write, giving advice on how to use the language, and it also would tell you how to avoid making mistakes when using it. Descriptive grammar, which also according to our book, tries to describe the grammatical system that underlies the way people actually speak and write the language. It would also explain what the language is like. In the paper, I will discuss why they're important, the differences between Old English, Middle English, early Modern English and Modern English, as well as going over the definition and some examples of aspect, tone, and mood of verbs. Modern English verbs preserve the distinctive twofold division of the Germanic verb into strong and weak types. The latter group has been larger in all periods of English, and it grows steadily even now, both because newly created or newly borrowed words are invariably conjugated in this way because verbs that were once strong are not infrequently weak. Words have changed a lot in a lot of ways, and they also have changed over time. In Old English, we have derived most of our words, but we have conjugated them in a sense to where we can use them in modern times. We have found that in Old English, verbs fell into 6 classes, and sometimes we even create a seventh class. The first form of Old English words was the base for the verb, which is unmarked. The second form is the second person singular. The third form is the third person singular. The fourth form is the progressive form. The fifth form is for past or unreality. And the sixth form is for concord of thou. And the last form, the seventh form, is the past participle. Of those 7 forms, though, 4 are always infinite, which are 2, 3, 5, and 6, which are numbered in the paper, and 2 are non-infinite, 4 and 7. And of the infinite forms, 2 are past tense, which are 5 and 6. The next section I go and I define aspect. Aspect, according to Anne Curzan and Michael Adams in How English Works, a Linguistic Introduction, marks whether the action of the selected verb is continuous or completed. But F.R. Palmer, who wrote The English Verb, thinks aspect is a little more difficult. Aspect is something that's either been completed or that is continuous. Here's an example. She was writing a novel is a continuous action, and she wrote a novel is a completed action, which can also be called progressive, which is continuous, and non-progressive, which is non-completed. The next section I go and I talk about tense. It's another very important part of a verb category. It's in relation to time, and Laurel Britton's definition of tense is the linguistic indication of time of an action. Tense establishes a relation, and it indicates the time and event in respect to the moment of speaking. There are 2 parts of tense, not 3 like a lot of people have thought. There's past tense and present tense. Future cannot be expressed, but it is parallel to both past and present. Here's an example. Past tense, I promise to be back for lunch. Present, I promise to be back for lunch. And future, I will be back for lunch. You cannot have a sentence without knowing which tense to speak in or to write in. It's a very important part of a verb. And verbs without tense that do not agree with the rest of the sentence just don't make any sense. Lastly, I'll go over mood. Mood, according to our book, is a grammatical category associated with the semantic dimension of modality. Mood is to modality as tense is to time. Tense and mood are categories of grammatical form, while time and modality are associated with categories of meaning. There are 3 types of modal auxiliaries: epistemic, deonic, and dynamic, but I'm only going to go over epistemic and deonic. I'll give you the definition of epistemic, which it expresses meanings relating to primarily what is necessary or possibly given to what we know or believe. And then deonic modality expresses meanings relating primarily to what is required or permitted. Here's some examples of epistemic. He must have overslept. She may be ill, and the storm should be over soon. Notice how each one of these examples, which are given in my paper, have and be after the verb. Examples of deonic: he must apologize. She may take as many as she needs, and we should call the police. Notice how these deonic verbs, I should say, do not have, or be following the verb. And these examples also come from your book on page 115. Laurel Britton defines mood as being rather difficult to define, but it can simply be said that it is an indication of the speaker's attitude toward what he or she is talking about, whether it's considered fact or non-fact. In my conclusion, I just stated why, again, verbs are important, the definition of mood, tone, and voice, and how you have to have all three of these present in a sentence. You can't have a sentence without a verb, and your verb has to have aspect, tone, and mood to be complete. Thank you.